Welcome back to WCS Winter, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving into our fourth and last match for the European side of the broadcast in our round robin. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by Nathanius. What's up?
Not much, baby.
Looking good?
As always.
Just flexing?
Better believe it.
Well, I want to see which one of these players is going to be able to flex on the other, because our next match is going to be two what you would expect to say like powerhouses of Serral and ShoWTime. But both of these guys having some unexpected losses there. Serral, I mean, literally having an unexpected loss. And then ShoWTime also struggling a bit at a 1-2 score.
The only thing I can imagine crazier than the results we've had so far would be if a Widow Mine was dropped down onto an asteroid and burrowed into it to detonate it from the inside, Fear Dragon. Because that's how crazy WCS has been. That's right. It's Rainer leading the pack, not Serral. Is he going to reclaim that title? I guess we won't know until Rainer's match is over, because he kind of has to lose at some point in order to not be in first place.
And speaking of which, we actually do have the group standings to see exactly who is in first place. And of course, right now, it looks like it is Rainer, but Lambo trailing not too far behind alongside Serral. And Hero Marine, we have the rest of the guys chugging along, and poor Rail still looking for that first victory.
Rail.
But he's still got 4 more series.
You could say that Rail is at the end of the track.
You could say that. That is correct.
You could.
But of course, guys, if you do want to check out, for example, some of the other series going on, if you want to see if Rainer's going to be able to keep up his ridiculous winning streak so far, then you can go ahead and check out twitch.tv/zombiegrub, twitch.tv/wardy with 3 eyes, and twitch.tv/basetradeTV to see all of these other matches. Looks like Rainer's actually playing on already, or the graphics gone. He's playing on one of those other things.
He is playing his final match. We can promise he has
for today.
To play. He can't not play his match, right? That would be forfeiting, right?
That would be
forfeiting.
forfeiting.
He didn't want to play.
That would put a loss on the board.
That would change everything. Well, I mean, forfeits usually are like, you're like, I'm out though, right?
That's,
so
yeah. There
someone
might
else
be additional repercussions for something like that.
Yeah, you can't just ghost StarCraft. We'll find you.
On that pleasant note, let's get ready to talk about our next game. Again, Serral versus ShoWTime. We're loading into game number 1. It's going to be on King's Cove. Serral showing a little bit of weakness to Hero Marine, but this is a different matchup. And ShoWTime looking a little bit iffy versus the other European Zerg players, but now he's got a chance versus the King himself. We'll see if he can make it work as we start down here at the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Top of the red Protoss player, he is ShoWTime.
And his opponent in the Northwest, the Blue Zerg, the reigning world champion. He is Serral. So Fear Dragon, I want to run the coolest idea by you.
I think you can run.
Okay. Well, not me literally running.
Okay.
But I have seen in some other, and so I've seen this in sports games. They have scenarios where they say, here's a historic moment when a play was made, and they put you in the shoes of the other guys, and they're like, stop it and win, you know? Like a change history sort of thing. How cool would something like that be in StarCraft? Imagine if there was like a challenge mode where it's like, you are, what was the name of that Terran player, the Axiom guy? Heart.
Heart?
Your Heart, it's Frost. You have 4 SCVs and 3 orbitals. Win the game. Your opponent has 40 drones and banelings and +2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Like scenario play-out challenges.
I would
always
love
thought that would be
that.
like. That's what I kind of like dream about when you see like a player like Serral.
I know one of the things that people speculated would be a really cool thing, and you know what's actually a little bit sad is that it didn't even have to be Blizzard or something to do this. Someone in the community could have stepped up and done something like this, where they say, okay, resume from replay from this point and make this work in this like situation. And having like a weekly thing where people just release like a situation. Like that.
I mean, I feel like it would have to be a little bit AI driven at some point to make it easy to get into, right? You'd kind of have to like build the scenarios into maps, but when I think about a lot of these games that these players get into, people are always like, oh, well, I would do this or I would do that. And I'm like, well, I feel like there's like cool scenarios that could be played off of. Like a lot of the great comeback stories of StarCraft. Another great one would be like, you are Tefl, and you just threw away 200 supply of roaches into MVP when he's on 1.5 base. Find a way to win the game now that MVP has 2-2. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
some crazy stuff.
That would be fun.
Of course, if it was actually MVP, then you couldn't win, but I digress.
Well, what's the scenario here that you'd have to win from? We do have a Stargate opening and stuff. And
your opponent has a Nidus in your main with 10 queens. You have no workers. Come back and win the game.
No workers. You have an Oracle.
You have an Oracle and no probes. You do have 45 minerals, though.
I mean, an Oracle will kill every single building in the game, except for a lair. No, except for a hive.
A hive, right?
A lair will narrowly be killed, but the Oracle has enough energy, if it's at full energy, to kill every single building.
Here is a really tough question for you, Fear Dragon, because I do not know the answer to this one.
7.
No. The Oracle's Pulsar Beam is not affected by armor because it is an ability. Now, is the Oracle's Pulsar Beam also affected by random attack delay? Because it is not a regular weapon.
I stand by my answer of 7.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think it is, but I'm sure Printf is somewhere out there telling me that I'm wrong.
Someone out there knows.
So we do have a second Stargate being thrown down.
I like this a lot.
Forgive us, like not a whole lot has been happening. It's been a pretty normal opening. ShoWTime, a very, very standard player. And Serral also opting to play it out pretty standard. Usually the Zerg player has to play a little bit more reactive if they're not going for a super all-in or something. And Serral doesn't really seem like he's the kind of guy who likes doing that these days. So he is just going to encounter the Phoenix Oracle. He's going to move forward. He's got a ridiculous number of Zerglings just patrolling outside of ShoWTime's main natural expansion. So he's going to be able to see a lot of the units coming out. And as the Oracles pop on forward, soon he's going to be finding the double Stargate Phoenix production has already begun.
Phoenix are so fun to play around with, man. Getting himself that potential, well, the future scout denial, it'll be hard with the number of Phoenix that get on the map. And really the big concern is make sure you've got enough on the ground so that you can take that third base without getting pushed back by the Zerglings. And we know Serral, much like Raynor, we expect to see him going for backstabs, counterattacks, Ling run-bys. King's Cove is very kind of funneled, though, with those your first 3 bases. So you shouldn't worry about it as much, and it kind of opens up more as you try to get the 4th base. But even then, not too much.
Yeah, a lot of the other maps, because there's like the more open area by your 3rd base, you can throw down a Nidus Swarm just outside the 3rd base and still really easily just kind of move into the 3rd base, put some pressure on, pull back, etc. But on this map, like you're saying, it's a much more tucked in one. It's on the high ground there for ShoWTime. It's a lot easier to defend, unless the Nidus Swarm just straight up goes inside of the 3rd base, in which case that's also a bit easier to spot. But so far, I mean, these Phoenix doing a nice job. He's shut down 7 workers so far.
I like it, Fear Dragon. And look at the follow-up. Double robotics facility. So he's already thinking roaches. He's got roaches on his mind. And cranking out Immortals 2 at a time is one way to prepare yourself. But roach speed is coming on soon. The robos are not yet done. So the Immortals are a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump from actually being on the field and able to defend.
Yeah. And Serral definitely looking to get aggressive, just sitting on only 49 workers. He's going to give away a few of these Lings. Looks like the Phoenix continuing to whittle away at that worker count. And again, Serral is not really redroning any of the losses that he's been taking this whole time. So loses even more. Now, the one downside here for ShoWTime is that he sees this push coming in, and those Phoenix are pretty low on energy right now, Nate. They are not going to have an easy time just lifting up every single one of these roaches and picking them off. So he's going to have to rely really heavily on that ground force until he has more energy for these Phoenix.
Yep, the Ravagers are going to come up and try to break these roaches away from the force fields. You talked about it. The Phoenix are here trying to deal with the Ravagers, but there's not a whole lot of support behind this. The first Immortal is going to come out and try to assist. The second one is on the way, but there's only one shield battery that's been completely depleted, and the Zerglings are able to get on top of the Immortal.
And one Immortal already ends up falling. The second Immortal had its shields already triggered. The gateway units, the Zealots, the Adepts, the frontline buffer is pretty much gone. And while the Phoenix have stayed alive during all of this. It seems like the third base has been broken, and now the probes are starting to fall. The reinforcements come streaming on him from Serral, and he's still sitting up about 40 supply right now as he starts taking out that third base.
Yeah, without that third base, going to lose a lot of the economic potential. 2 Immortals are on the way, but with this many Queens and the Ravagers, I don't see a way that he can stop the torrent of Zerg units.
Phoenix go across the map, so it feels like ShoWTime says, okay, well, my natural expansion wall, I can at least defend this. I don't need these Phoenix to help me defend that location. And Serral's definitely going to test the waters here. He still has these Queens here as well, remember that. So the Cybernex core are going to get taken out, and then are those Phoenix going to come back to help defend, or does he just feel confident about this?
Yeah, I mean, Immortals are good, but now that the wall's been broken open, there we go.
Ooh.
Great job there. The stasis trap, buying him a lot of space. That Immortal is actually stuck, could not micro away. Pylon goes down, but the robotic facility is still powered. There's the focus fire on the first Immortal, very low on the shields, and tries to bile out the force field.
Yeah, the Phoenix come back. They lift up some of these Ravagers. The Immortals barely manage to survive, but another one gets taken out. The Sentry's starting to die as well. Remember that behind all this, Serral has joined up to 67 workers, and he killed off the third base of ShoWTime. So while he is going to get cleaned up here eventually, it is a super costly cleanup. He loses nearly every single Phoenix. There's only 3 left over on the map, and the Immortals all end up dying.
And Serral finally built drones, so he's got money coming in. You could say that not having the 4th base hurts for him, but ShoWTime, I don't know that he can just retake his 3rd, you know? So what exactly is the play? He's going to get a few more sentries. He's spilling a Warp Prism with continued Immortal production.
Yeah, this is a problem right now. And it seems like ShoWTime is just going to try and use these 3 Phoenix to keep an eye on his opponent. So if you can at least see what Serral is up to, you can try and react to it. And seeing, okay, I haven't really seen that many units popping out so far with these 3 Phoenix. I haven't seen any moving around the map. Maybe he feels like he can make some pressure happen with the army he made. So he's moving out across the map, but remember, there hasn't really been a whole lot of pressure put onto the creep spread or anything, so now he's going to be moving deep onto creep. Serral has so much advance notice of this push coming. And it's going to be about the force fields just absolutely shutting down Serral's ability to defend. And I mean, they're good force fields, but the Ravagers knocking down the force fields, shutting down some of the sentries. The Warp Prism Micro is pretty good. ShoWTime putting up a fight here. Is it going to be enough, though? And, oh, God, even the Warp Prism is getting taken out now.
Without the Prism now, that micro potential is gone. 2 Immortals die in the blink of an eye. And the Ravagers up front still doing a good job. Plenty of Queens behind them. And I'm not entirely sure that ShoWTime will be able to bust through this.
Yeah.
Especially with the next wave coming out soon.
He got close to it, but just close isn't quite enough. He needed to shut that down completely. And Serral defends, takes the first game.
Very well done by Serral. The exact type of beautiful, clean play that we expect from our reigning world champion. He is so good. He's shown some signs of mortality even in this group, but really, really well done game 1 there.
Yeah, again, like I want to go back to the fact that ShoWTime sees the attack coming across the map. He encounters it in the middle of the map. He has to use a few force fields to get away and stuff with his sentries and his adepts and Immortals. But then his reaction to say, okay, I'm going to send my Phoenix across the map, I kind of get it because you say like, okay, if I defend this then, I'm going to be so far ahead. But we saw the lack of Phoenix energy, meaning that these Phoenix like really weren't doing a whole lot. He would lift up like 1 Ravager or something. Imagine that he picks up all of those Queens or all of the Ravagers, starts picking those off, and then there's a lot of reduced damage there. It's effectively like a massive stun for half the army of Serral.
Yep.
I actually think that maybe ShoWTime doesn't necessarily, it's still a tight defense there on the 3rd base, but the natural expansion, I think he cleans up a lot better at a minimum, and I think that that becomes a much easier hold there, with ShoWTime being way further ahead than he was.
Yep, one of the biggest things we always talk about when players use Phoenix, they are fun to go harass with, right? It's like, oh, lift up worker, pew pew, easy, but then the attack hits your base, and you're like, well, I've got 1,500 minerals and 1,000 gas of Phoenix that I cannot use to defend. So, yeah, I'm dead, and that's pretty much what ended up happening. He did recover, as a true champion did, but was not able to make the counterattack work, especially once the Prism is gone, all hope is too.
All right, well now Serral sitting up 1-0. We get ready to move on to Cyber Forest for game number 2. Serral currently sitting 2-1 in his group standings, whereas ShoWTime sitting at a bit of an uncomfortable 1-2. So if he loses this series versus Serral, which again, it's Serral, so not that much shame there, but it's still going to put him in a really, really tough 1-3 situation in the groups. That's 4 out of the 7 matches that he has to play. So at best, he could maybe make like an advancement to the playoffs in like the middle of the group or something, but it's looking bad right now for ShoWTime.
Indeed, it is. Can our German man bring this series back? He's in the top left of Cyber Forest. He is ShoWTime. D. Mauer in control was saying earlier, it's the Night King versus the Wall. There's no way a giant physical barrier could ever be destroyed or bypassed, right, Fear Dragon?
I mean, there is no proof that
in the history of the Earth, no wall has ever failed to keep out anybody, including this man in the Southeast. Some say his gaze is stone cold with an icy glare that could pierce the hearts of even the undead. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Serral. Suddenly really want to see him on like one of those who's behind this curtain type shows, you know?
I mean, Serral's earned enough money that he can effectively just, instead of buying a plane, he can just buy an ice dragon or like an undead dragon, fly into all the events on the dragon.
That's how I chill. Do you think they do valet for those?
Well, I guess the dragon will take care of itself, right? The valet is necessary. The valet is necessary because the car will not prevent itself from getting like keyed up or something. I feel like a dragon will defend itself if you try and key it.
You don't know that, Ravi. You don't have any proof that that's what would happen.
One day, we'll find out. Well, will we though?
Oh, I love this job. All right. Probe's dancing around, doing the annoying thing. We're trying to... So just so you guys know, only one worker can mine from a mineral patch at once. And the probe tries to mine so that the drones can't mine their own minerals. It's great.
Yep, and of course, Serral took his third base instead of his natural expansion just because he wanted to avoid ShoWTime being annoying with the probe. And ShoWTime saw that base immediately as it was plopped down, so he confirms it does finish up. He sees all the drones mining over there, and he should be expecting an eventual natural to be taken. Sees a couple of lings made. He's actually going to follow those lings.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, that's a very bold probe move. Usually you're trying to run away from them.
That is not good for your chances of survival. Twilight Council pretty quickly here for ShoWTime, so we're not going to see that Stargate opening into another Stargate. This could very well be some sort of mega adept attack that we've seen attempted already in this group today.
Yep. And I guess actually part of the reason why you may have been following those Zerglings is to see the angle that they'd move into, so make sure he doesn't get kind of, Rainered. As we saw Rainer pulling off against Drogo in the last series. Just making sure, you know what, I know where these lings are, and if they're going to make their way into the main base, I will at least have seen them coming and chipped away at them. But the lings do still get into the main base. No research coming out on the Twilight Council just yet.
That's interesting. So he's got the Robo facility on the way. If he wanted to do like a DT dropper or something, he'd need to start it, I would say, like maybe 5-10 seconds ago.
Yeah, is he waiting to clean up the lings before?
Well, there's an Overlord here too, bruh. So, yeah. Okay, there's the Dank Shrine. I was going to say, I'm like, no, he doesn't have anything to stop that. He did build the Stalker, and he, I'm sure, would love to kill the Overlord. But you want to move the Adept out? Cool. Now you don't get to use your Stalker to kill the pervy Overlord that's in your base, and you have to use it to defend against these Zerglings at the front door.
Yep.
And there's still this Ling, by the way. He's just chilling.
Yeah, I mean, doing more than chilling. Migrating around, gonna pick away at the hit points. I mean, just force a little bit of lost mine time. Just being extra annoying. And he's, of course, already seen the Dark Shrine. He saw that Dark Shrine ages ago with the Overlord. Now he also still sees it with the...
Oh, and he gets a probe, too. Beautiful. All the micro, all the APM, the attention put on that one Zergling. Serral is playing this whole game while also pushing top lane. Amazing. Amazing gaming here, ladies and gentlemen. There's the Warp Prism heading on out. Presumably to warp in for Dark Templar. And you can do like the gut check, you know, where you're like, are you ready for a punch? and then usually the Zerg player is going to be ready, and then you turn them into Archons. And
if the Zerg player's seen it this blatantly, do you even do the gut check?
Probably not.
Yeah,
right. Well, I just really like Dark Templar now, Fear Dragon. So.
Oh yeah, I saw.
Dark Templar versus Zerg.
You're on the mass blank DT train.
They're so good.
Right?
They're so good.
So he's gonna still poke forward, and hey, guess what? There's no.
Oh my goodness, the gut check!
Oh my God, it worked!
5 workers, 6 workers, 7 workers DT, killed. Okay, losing 1 DT does hurt, but I mean 8.
Would you trade 1 DT for 8 drones?
Yeah, I would.
I would.
I would take that trade every single day.
Yeah, I don't think 8 drones is too bad for 1 DT. So he can add back the DT that he lost and still go into Archon drop if he wants. Yeah, so that's exactly what he's gonna do. Overlord sees all of this, by the way.
Yeah, you see it, but I mean, really, you're gonna react to it the same way. You're gonna expect it anyways.
There's not much you're gonna do there anyway.
So
important to note though, Fear Dragon, because units are being made by Serral. Those 8 drones that we were talking about, Serral's behind in economy. Yeah. ShoWTime has still just 2 bases, but he's got more workers, and presumably we're going to see him try to take that 3rd base soon.
Yeah, it's really important to know that ShoWTime didn't try and take a much faster 3rd base, which does make it sometimes harder to establish, just because a full health Nexus won't die to these Lings necessarily as quickly, so you have maybe a little bit more time to pull back your Archons, but Adepts and the Zell's getting taken out, the Pylons getting whittled away at. Now the Archons are finally back, so they're going to be able to push back those Lings, but the Roaches are also starting their journey across the map, but they're going to be making their way there before Roach Speed finishes, I think, and the Nidus Worm going to be used for those fast reinforcements.
Of course. What kind of game of StarCraft would this be without deep subterranean tentacles crossing the map?
Okay, I really am trying to figure out
nothing to prevent this base from getting smacked down. 1 Immortal. Ooh, oh, he's going to respect the Immortal. I guess the force fields are the primary concern, but just 1 Immortal is not that crazy. Sees the Nidus with the Prism, and it's a tunneling.
Yep, going out right in front of that 3rd base. Charge is about to finish up over here for ShoWTime. He's also a bit of ways away from +1 weapons and a couple extra gateways to help with warpins. But I do think that ShoWTime has the tools he needs to defend this. It is just a bit of a tricky defense here. And remember that In Control was talking about, the Dark Shrine can be really, really helpful in trying to deal with a lot of the Night Storms because they do so much damage. They don't care at all about the armor. But ShoWTime, not in a position to defend his 3rd, or just deciding that he didn't even want to try defending it. But now this is where things get a little bit weird, right? Because you lost your 3rd, and you might have a decent number of workers, but Serral's also been able to drum back up. Serral's perfectly fine, I think, with killing off the 3rd and backing off.
Yep, especially since that main base should be starting to run dry soon. DTs are going to get split up. Hail Mary, deep toss, natural, cleaned up. 3rd, 1, 2, 3. Is that it? And he's going to peace out.
Hey, you can always move back in later. Not bad. 13 more workers on the way here for Serral. ShoWTime looking to make maybe his push out. I mean, this is where I feel like Serral may even just start abusing, I guess, the reputation of ShoWTime, where ShoWTime gets into a not-so-great position, and he's so good at just playing from behind and kind of pulling it back, but Serral may just be playing a little bit greedy, saying, well, I got Nidus Worms, and also ShoWTime is the guy who will wait for the late game and then push out. And that just may not fly in this situation if Serral just takes advantage of that.
Yeah, a couple of Hallucinated Phoenix going to move around as another Nidus pops on the north side. Even though that Nidus, there's no Swarm Host, so this is going to be for like setting up the Linger and buy. But even that Nidus, right? When those things pop, it's a global sound effect. Everybody in the game can hear it. So it's going to basically signal to ShoWTime, you are coming home, because you don't know how much I'm putting through this, and you can't be 100% certain. So you have to constantly be running back to defend against these Nidus builds. They are very popular for a reason, Fear Dragon.
Indeed. This is why, again, like I would really like to see maybe just trying to use a few un-Archoned DTs to try and clean up some of the Nidus Storms that may pop up in like the main base. Actually, as I say that, he does have a Dark Templar on a patrol path for potential areas where a Nidus Storm might pop out, so he is already doing that. I really like that. Templar Archives also being added on. maybe he was just waiting on +2 weapons and this final immortal to go for a push out, but if he does, his third base is once again going to be in a bit of a vulnerable position, and he might be forced into kind of like a 2-base all-in if the Nidus Storm just cleans that up, and then Serral just quickly pulls back. So I kind of get the defensive posture, but it is going to turn this into a bit of a weird game.
Yep. Very hard to get out on the map and do anything when a guy like Serral is constantly poking and prodding and looking for weakness. There you go. He's like, oh, you've got an anti-Nidus DT? No. I'm going to go on the hunt for that bad boy and bring him down.
Well, Roach is chasing after a few of these Zealots. They're actually running back into the wall. The third base has all of the rest of the units for ShoWTime, so Serral doesn't really want to overcommit over here, but he's just keeping an eye on things. He's getting maxed out himself. He's actually gotten up a lurker den and now has 10 lurkers on the way, and that might just be the magic he needs to try and deal with High Templar tech, which, by the way, Storm isn't even done yet, and Serral already has a really nice answer for this army.
Yep. A very good position. The lurker count, by the way, is getting up there. Been doing a good job getting out the tech units that he needs. Size Storm and +3 attack are going to help, but these Nidus Worms are never going to stop.
I mean, there's no reason to at this point, right? He's got his 4 bases. He's got a pretty scary looking army, and one of the worst possible scenarios for a Protoss player, or just, I mean, any race, is when the Nidus Storm gets up in your main base, you don't take care of it in time, and then the lurkers get in the Nidus Storm and start defending your main base ramp, preventing you from actually getting it.
Fear Dragon. Oh my goodness, that was terrible. So there's those DTs you're talking about. They are good at defending the Nidus, but he just lost like so many hit points and shields and a few units there to these lurkers. It's
gonna hurt.
That was painful. Big storms are gonna come down though. Corrosive Vials getting dropped, but it looks like ShoWTime should be able to push Serral off here. I feel like with the Immortal count, yeah.
I mean, all of the Roaches and Hydras disappear, and then the Immortals, yeah, they just tear through those lurkers. As long as you get on to them fast enough that the Immortals just start also dying after the shields expire. But Serral losing a good bit of supply there, but teching up to Hive, getting up actually more drones, and getting up a 5th base. So it seems like he's pretty okay with the damage he's done and just the contain he's forced on ShoWTime. But could just continue to pressure, and I would love for him to just continue pressure, but not commit too much here.
He's trying to bait him back into the lurkers once again, but being careful with those storms since the lurkers have all taken damage. None of them are at full health.
Ooh, gets the Observer. That's really nice. Remember, this wasn't a Stargate opening from ShoWTime. He doesn't have an Oracle, he doesn't have Revelations, and he's only got 1 more Observer left.
Yeah, that one Observer is going to be very crucial, keeping him safe, and he's thinking about it too, actually. Boots up an Oracle.
Okay, DT working away at some of those Hydras, but the Overseer comes back from the main base where we plopped down a Nidus Storm and actually throws up another Nidus Storm just up at the high ground. The Hydras are actually going to cover
He's like,
this
deny this Nidus! And then the Immortal shows up like, why, hello there!
Yes, I can deny that Nidus Storm just fine.
You thought Dark Templar were my only tool in defense? Big Zealot warping inside of the main base. That Hive under attack.
I like this. With +3 weapons, he's going to shred these Zerglings, and in fact, he's not even going for the Lings.
He's YOLO'd on the Hive. Okay, now he's turned the Zealot's attention over.
Imagine if he had warped in 2 DTs with that. That's a dead Hive.
Is it though?
As someone who is the guy who warps in 15 DTs in that situation, yeah, I think it is.
I'm glad you've calculated the number of Dark Templar required to kill things. It's important. I did it for Yamatos.
You know what's physically impossible? To have enough surface area to one-shot a Hive or a lair.
That's cool.
Doesn't that make you sad? You can't one-shot a lair with DTs.
There's not enough surface area around it.
Even with +3 weapons, you can't one-shot the lair. That's one of the saddest things.
It's physically impossible for a man or a woman to go into outer space with just nothing but their bare hands and feet. You can't do it.
But why would a bear ever go to outer space?
Yeah, even without them either.
The fur doesn't protect them from the lack of atmosphere?
No, you actually you really can't jump more than a foot or two off the ground, realistically.
This is getting really weird because we got a nice room popping up just further over to the left, and ShoWTime is finally starting to make his big push out over here. So this is the big question: is
this counterattack? He's so ready for it. He's so ready for this.
Ooh, gets a revelation off on every single one of the lurkers. The DTs do get cleaned up pretty quickly, and a recall comes out. Now he's gonna surround the lurkers, which are totally on their own. And Zealot's having a bit of a hard time closing the distance with the Storms, the Immortals, and clean it up. And that was a costly bit of army there for Serral.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. All right, Fear Dragon. Ooh, oh, is he gonna get these with the Templar? Okay, pop quiz time, Fear Dragon.
Shoot.
The Lurker. Did you know that its attack effective range is longer than its actual attack range?
Indeed, yeah.
It attacks for one range longer than its normal attack. Same thing with
That's
what other
damage.
unit? What other unit, Fear Dragon?
Oh, good lord. Well, hold that
That's
thought.
a huge drop. It's
That
the Hellion,
is-
by the way.
That might
Four
actually be a
Overlords
huge
of Hydras. Now he's going to get the Nidus inside of ShoWTime's main. Spine Crawlers are getting torn down at this base, but yeah, I don't know what ShoWTime is going to do to save his main.
This is tough because remember, recall was already used. It's on cooldown, so I guess he's just going to try and base trade until recall comes off cooldown, and then he tries to defend. He can't even really warp in defensive DTs because there's actually a lot of overseers with that army inside of ShoWTime's main base. So here we go. He's going to try and move into a massive concave of some Hydras, some more Lurkers even being morphed in, and these Immortals, a lot of their shields are already on cooldown.
Yeah, I mean, the firepower of the Immortal is always nice to see, complemented here with the Storms, but at some point, like, all the gateways and the tech getting destroyed leave you in this spot of, like, what is the next step that you're going to take as ShoWTime?
Well, I guess this is kind of nice, because remember, the Night Storm's at the third base, so no matter what, Serral has to move through this choke point to deal with his army. The drones
are blocking! The drones are blocking! Everything's dead! Rip.
That's a solid cleanup. He pulls the drone so he only loses 3. He keeps his Lurker Den alive. He still has the Nidus Worm in his opponent's main base.
Oh my god.
And ShoWTime's on 2 base.
He's got that blink that'll never finish. What's the infrastructure? How many gateways do we have?
We have 5 gateways and no robos anymore.
Nice.
Just want to note also, all the observers got sniped. And with no robo, you can't make any more observers.
Nice.
He has a Stargate in the main base that's making an Oracle, but if he doesn't nail the revelation on every single Lurker, he actually cannot kill them.
Yep. All right. Well, those 2 Zealots are going to try to deal with that Nidus Worm. We'll probably not be able to. And you can't really kill these Lurkers here either. Nexus is going down. Another Nidus in your face.
Yep. It's going to create a little bit of a wall also versus those Zealots. Not that he needs it, because that third base, even with all the Storms, looks like it's going to go down, and so does ShoWTime. Serral,
GG, baby.
Zeros.
GG.
Goes 3-1 in his group now for day number 1. And ShoWTime, unfortunately, going down 1-3. Bit of a rough day for him.
Yeah, tough match, really. I mean, Serral played really well and made great use of the Nidus. And the thing about the Nidus is Serral complemented it with supportive units, bringing the Overseers out with those Hydras, clearing out the DTs that were for anti-Nidus.
Yep.
But also, like, even when he just really wanted to push the issue, bringing the drops. He's like, well, you know what? I'm getting units in your base. This Nidus, this is happening.
This is finishing. You're not going to
This is happening. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to bring 4 Overlords of Hydras and drop the Nidus behind them if that's what it takes. That is what it took, by the way, and it did work. So kudos to Serral for just, you know, he's... That's you see a bit of that flair where it's, you know, a problem is there, he presents a solution, and then, you know, for ShoWTime, Serral's solution is his problem, and they both kind of work away at it, and eventually Serral's like, this is what I need to do to deal with everything that you've been doing to stop me.
And it's also just capitalizing on like some of the momentum building that he was going for, where if you have to catch the Protoss player once out of position, right, to force them to recall back home or into the correct position. Now that recall's on cooldown, you have like this timing window where the Protoss player is not really going to have a good way to react to, oh, there's a Nidus Worm going up in my main base, and there's a big drop there.
Yep.
If the recall was off cooldown, that's when ShoWTime can just recall. He pushes back or at least forces to unload and cleans up the Nidus Worm. But it's the fact that he was able to do 2 of those big moves within a short time span that I think is really able to capitalize on that. But you guys can see that, of course, with that series finished up, we do have some more score updates, as this is the end of day 1 for Europe's round robin. Now, we do have a day 2. We're going to finish the last 3 series, but you guys can see over here, Serral, of course, taking the 2-0 over ShoWTime. We had Hero Marine taking a 2-0 over Rail, so Rail still struggling a little bit, and going to see if he can turn things around day 2.
Don't think Rail was able to pick up a match
he
today.
hasn't been able to pick one up yet. And of course, guys, all of those matches, all the VODs are going to be available on the community streams. Zombie Grub stream, Wardy stream, and Base Trade TV. If you guys are interested, highly recommend checking out the VODs. And in the future, including for Americas, you guys should just have all of the streams loaded on up.
Watch everything. What are you doing? You got nothing better to do.
You're trying to learn how to multitask better. This is the way to do it.
Watch more StarCraft. Put Armageddon on in the background and watch more StarCraft.
5 streams all at once. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back in a little bit with the Americas portion of the broadcast beginning. It's going to be the same thing all around with 3 more series coming up. Ooh, actually, it looks like we're joining a game in progress verse. Oh.
Cool.
Oh, okay. We're going to go to a break, and then we'll be going into Drogo versus a Laser. So we'll see you guys in a little bit.